You're with the Newsmakers on the panel, Tracey Chambers, Joe Kane and Jamie Gough. Well, G.I. John's fleeting visit to Afghanistan has been photo opportunity heaven with a tightly managed press pack in tow. But did our action man Prime Minister take everyone by surprise by opining about extending our troop deployment over there? Tracey, from a PR perspective, was this a great photo opportunity triumph for Mr Kane?
Absolutely, because he made a quote that I will use in training. He said, "I'm not prepared to send SAS troops to somewhere that I'm not prepared to go myself." And to me, that was a true mark of a real leader.
Oh, dear me.
Absolutely.
It was very noble, Joe.
Absolutely. But the second part about it is that, I mean, I've dealt with the Army for many, many years and have a very good understanding of what they're doing over there, and it is hard.
Do you train them?
Oh, yeah, right. Come on. Let's not get carried away. I'm with a personal trainer in the morning. There's a big difference between that and the SAS. But in all seriousness, I mean, he has gone over there. I think one of the other things that I liked, but I suspect his PR people didn't, was that he did take his cabinet by surprise with some of his comments. And what that also shows to me is that he is his own man. He has what we call the kitchen cabinet, so his closest advisors, you know, English, Brownlee, Joyce, but he does play his cards quite close to his chest, and he will consult, but he will still also be the leader. I have a huge amount of respect for what he did.
Although, could it be argued that it was policy on the hoof? And this is the flaky side of John Key. I mean, Murray McCulley looked decidedly
uncomfortable,
out to lunch in that...
I think that's more about McCulley than Key.
Right, well, there could be that too, yes. What do you make of it? For example, do you think we should extend our deployment to the good people of Afghanistan, or are we just propping up crooks and cronies and warlords?
New Zealand having a presence in the war has always been something that's sat very uneasy with me. I always feel that we're not in a position to be making ourselves a target. It's a case of taking a knife to a gunfight, really. And I think if we were a target, then we would have to worry.
Are knives?
What was that?
Do you think our SAS are knives in a gunfight?
Oh, no, they have pocket knives. They've got magnifying glass.
You need to meet these boys.
No. Look, I know them well. I certainly understand the workings of it. My uncle's the secretary of the defence there, and I've been very lucky to check out a few of the helicopters and that sort of stuff, which is very, very cool. They're amazing, and they're doing us. Well, I think we can all hold our heads very high with their presence there. But I do worry about involvement in a war and maybe sticking our hand up when I would prefer to see us in more of a peacekeeping role. That's where I see New Zealand's future to be, and it does sit uneasy with me to have New Zealand fighting there. That's just a personal thing.
Do you think the average Joe who joins the New Zealand Army joins the Army to wear a UN beret? Seriously? I mean, is that really what they're there for?
That's part of my worry, is that, of course, when you join up with the Army, there is an expectation that you're going to end up in a war somewhere in the world. My concern about this is how our Prime Minister seems to be so willing to link ourselves with the Americans, and that concerns me the most. Well, because let's have a look. When America has gone to war, it has been for dubious purposes, you know.
So you don't think the Afghanistan campaign is a noble cause?
Yeah, well, I think what New Zealanders are doing there is. But I have to think about, and I'm kind of a yes and no, because I actually do believe our crack forces are some of the very best in the world, and I think it's really important that we have that role. But I am concerned about why we would stay there. And if it's aligning ourselves with the Americans, then I have great concerns about that.
Who would you rather we align ourselves with?
I would like it to be New Zealand's choice to where it deploys its troops in the world. And if it's at peacekeeping, or if it's in Iraq or any of those places. But New Zealand's choice, but not a buy-off for something that might be trade or some... I am very nervous about it, and I'm quite sure that very soon we're going to see these ships, American ships, tooting into our harbours.
That's what makes me uneasy as well. Like my mother has always said, you know, you are the company you keep, and unfortunately America's one of the most hated countries in the world. So you've got to be very, very careful with it. And
look what happens. You know, we've just got New York, Times Square. We need to stand strong, and we've done it. We've shown we've done it. And on a global stage, New Zealand's anti-nuclear stance was really seen as strong for this around the world.
All right.
Really strong stance.
Before we go to the break, I do want to mention mining. I know that it was an Auckland-based protest, but man, it certainly took the nation by surprise. Thousands, tens of thousands of people thundering down Queen Street. Do you think Jerry Brownlee's policy is in trouble, Tracey?
I hope it's not. and even if it means going out on a limb, if I look at the percentage of resource that they're looking at, and I look at what this country needs to run and to do what we want to do in health, to do what we want to do in education, at the very least we've got to look at it. We've got to get more commercially savvy. We've got to look at how we can sustainably use our natural resources and actually, as a society, have a lot more debate around it. But I do think he's in trouble on it.
OK.
And this is how this government's working. It flouts it out there, all you know, the big prize, and then when they judge what the community's thinking, and then they start, you watch them, they won't mine in Coromandel, they won't mine on Great Barrier, but the poor old West Coast will get it in bulk.
But the West Coast love it.
They want it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Isn't that the difference?
But are we in trouble here? Now let's just having a look what's happening in America. You know, that greed at the expense of the environment, you know, is really starting to compel me.
What percentage of our resource is he talking about? It is a very minor percentage, and if you go to the West Coast, and I'm a West Coaster, my granddad built the fire stations over there after the mine fires, so this is in my blood. You go to the West Coast and you ask them what's the most important thing, and a large percentage of the West Coasters who have been there for generations will talk about jobs and keeping their family there, and it's all very well for us to sit over this side of the Alps in judgment when that's not our homes at risk and that's not our kids who don't have a future.
Quick comment, Jamie?
A quick comment with that would be, I think open space, the natural beauty of New Zealand is an absolute treasure, but there's no excuse for being dumb, and we've got the opportunity to know what's there, and there's no harm done in finding out. And then if we get to that point and we realise that we could be as rich as what we think we might be, then we'll deal with how to best go about it.
So are you saying money? Are you saying rich in terms of wealth as opposed to what it is that we covet and enjoy in this country?
If no harm is done and we can find a way to extract those minerals at no harm to the landscape, that's a case of having your cake and eating it too, and I like that.
Just a very quick judgment call from you on another matter pertaining to the mining protest. Lucy Lawless and Robin Malcolm, I don't want to be gratuitous, but they are fast becoming sort of rent-a-celebrity protester.
No, that's really unfair.
Well,
they just happen to be celebrities that actually have a conscience. Well, I know what you're going to say.
I was going to ask you, do you think
politician does that.
This Americanised trend of, you know, celebrity activism, is it something that sits well with the Kiwi psyche? Do we really give a damn whether Zena is in favour of mining or not?
My question is, of those people who went on that protest, how many of them read all the documentation before they went on the protest, or just read the one-pager flyer promoting those two as the leaders of the protest?
Why does it matter? Why does it matter? The reason they actually got there. I mean, I hate apathy in New Zealand.
Why were they there?
50,000 people in prams and got off their butts on a Saturday.
But was that about mining or celebrities?
Who cares what? I just went, go New Zealand. Who cares what it was for?
All right, Jamie and I need a break.
I thought it was amazing.
Thank you, Joe. We'll be back with Joe shortly. And
we're 500 on the Ekem one, you know?
Do stay with us.